Miami real estate should be local. If your realtor can't show your real estate in a golf cart, this is probably not the neighborhood they specialize in.
Hello, and welcome back to the Strive305 High School Economic Fellowship Podcast. I'm your host, Clint John, President and Executive Director of Virtutem Populo Incorporated, and I had to finish my chemistry homework before jumping on this podcast. Today, I'm honored to have someone very special on this podcast, someone who has served our communities for years and continues to do that work every single day, and she's certainly a role model that student leaders should look up to. I'm pleased to welcome today Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us.
Clint, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate being with you today.
So, Senator, you are a senator for your district. Mm-hmm. You also are the chair of the Miami-Dade Legislative Delegation. Mm-hmm. And you also work for Miami Realtors. And so it's awesome that we're going to be able to bridge that government and economic aspect today. And so I polled our students to get a couple of questions that they're interested in learning about. And so the first question is going to be, well, the first prompt is, you're the daughter of Cuban immigrants and you lived your whole life in South Florida. When you were our age, did you picture a life in public service or did that come later?
So back to your point about having born and raised in Miami-Dade County, I was raised, I'm Catholic, and so I went to Catholic school most of my life, and I went to FIU. I'm a proud Golden Panther, and then later on went on to get my master's degree at Nova Southeastern University, and never in any of that time did I think that I would run for public office. It wasn't something I went to school for. It wasn't something I said, oh, I'm going to get a degree in political science or anything along those lines. No. In fact, when I started working in politics, I actually worked for a gentleman named Bob Levy, who I've talked about before. He was the one who got me involved in, the political process and doing advocacy work in Tallahassee. And we actually worked a lot on campaigns for judicial candidates. So that was something I again, never thought I'd get into that world, period, because my major was public relations and, I was a School of Journalism student. But I think sometimes our life paths and our careers, don't always match what you study in school. And you have to be open to what life sends you, right? You have to be open to opportunities that arise and that may somehow intersect with some of your studies or some of your, interests, your personal interests. Like I always liked politics, but again, to your point or to the question, I never thought I was actually going to run for office until the opportunity presented itself.
Awesome. I think there's an interesting discussion which you brought up to have when it comes to what you learn in university, being able to apply it to any career that you choose.
Yes.
And so look at you now today. You're sitting down in a podcast. You've done this before, and public relations and journalism comes somehow, some way.
Yes.
So yeah. So the next question is the prompt. You started on the Doral City Council, then to the House, then to the Senate. What does local government teach you that you can't learn anywhere else?
So local government teaches you a lot about persistence in, particularly our constituents who would come to our regular council meetings and express their concerns. It's usually a few people who come and show up and actually voice their concerns, or they see something that's not working properly. And I think it's unfortunate because you would think more people would take an interest in taking the time to go to their city council meetings or to, say, what's on their mind. And so I guess what I learned is, we do listen to people, even though, it's only a few people, but we do take their comments into account. And I think the lesson that I learned from that is, take the time to go and speak to your local officials because they do listen to you and they do they are influenced by what you have to say. I think there's a misconception that, government is influenced strictly by dollars, right? By lobbyists and people who give money to political candidates. And I don't think that's true. I think, obviously they do have the ear of the person, that they support. But that doesn't guarantee anything. Just because you give someone a check doesn't mean they're going to vote for your item.
For sure.
So I think that would be my takeaway is the power of the people is very strong. And we've seen that in local politics, state and federal races. And I think, people need to always remember, if they run for office, remember the power of the people and make sure you listen to your constituents because it is important.
For sure.
Yes.
I think there's also like an interesting conversation when it comes to people saying that politicians only listen to lobbyists. It's like nine times out of 10, lobbyists don't even live in the area which the politician represents. So it's like they don't even vote. You voted for that candidate. They represent you. We live in a representative democracy. And so they're one of you. And so they know what it is like to live in your district, to face the issues that you face, and we're all on the same team. And so that's what we teach our student leaders every single day.
Yeah.
So I once interned, for local city councilman, which I'm sure you know very well, Councilman Julian.
Yes.
And so I that's when I first realized that government has a day-to-day impact on the life of residents. I was able to work with her on school speed zone safety. It placed a ticket reader in school zones across our city of Miami Gardens. And so I walk to school. So if you're speeding on my street, you get a $100 fine. And so I realized that you can have a voice in government. When was the first time that you realized that policy could change a family's day to day?
Well, I realized it many, many years ago because, obviously as a Miami-Dade, homegrown, resident, I think you just somehow innately realize that government has a tremendous role in our day-to-day lives. But wanted to mention that the law that passed to allow schools to get these cameras was my bill. That was actually a bill that I filed and thankfully passed and gave schools the ability to apply at the Department of Transportation to do studies. You have to get a study done so that they can see whether or not your school is eligible. If there is a high incidence of speeders in that area, then they can apply for these cameras, right? But anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring that full circle because you were there. But yeah, I mean, I can't give you a specific time when I realized that, but I will say that you do realize it that when with that government and just everything is connected to what we do, and I think you just have to be aware. And I think one of the things I try to instill in my children is to create that awareness at an early age. And they are very much aware, even at the age of 12 and 13, that government does play a very big role. And politics plays a big role in our lives. And, for example, like for a young person, I would say, social media, right? Oh, yeah. For them, social media is like, it's just a way to express yourself or, for your friends to find you when you're not in, maybe they connect through social media. But I see it as much more than that. And I think as someone who's a rising star like you are, someone who's in politics like myself, you have to be very careful what you say, what you post, photos. Not that you're doing anything wrong, but just, things could be misconstrued and misinterpreted. Like, even just having a cup in your hand, people who want to damage you, they say, oh, she's drinking a beer or she's drinking wine. Yeah. And not that there's anything wrong with drinking beer or wine or anything, alcoholic, whatever. But this is the nature of politics, right? People want to always hurt you. They want to, just harpoon you. And so how do you do that? You take anything that's innocent and you turn it into something that may not be. So I think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but just I think people just need to be aware of their surroundings when they're,
For sure.
Whether they're in politics or not, just always be aware of yourself.
For sure. Doing communications on like multiple campaigns, I've learned that you never take a photo
with a cup in your hand.
Yeah. So for a lot of young people in the country, the dream is not necessarily a mansion, right? It's being able to grow up, to stay in the community that they grew up in, right? From your seat at many different orgs, and especially the Senate, what's actually driving the affordability crunch in Miami-Dade County?
Well, I think one of the things that's driving the affordability crunch is the high demand, right? Everybody wants to live here. This is like the hottest place to live in the country. And so, based on supply and demand, there's only so much supply and there's a lot more demand than supply. And it's not just from people that want to live here, but there's outside people that want to invest. They just want to own a property in Miami. And because we don't have laws per se banning people, people can buy from almost anywhere. We do have some limitations on certain types of properties, but for the most part, we have people who are born and raised here competing with people who are coming from outside.
Mm.
And then we have cash buyers, right? And so when someone's coming in with a cash offer, a seller is more inclined to just sell it for cash than to have to, deal with someone who has to go through financing, and it just takes more time. So that's a challenge, to live in such a popular place. So what do we see? We see people who are moving here, but we also see people who are leaving. We see young people who get their degrees, they finish school, and they go live in Central Florida, or they go live in other parts of Florida, or they just leave the state altogether. And one of my goals is to try to keep those people here. We got to keep talent here. We got to keep families here. As a mom, I have two boys. I have a 12 and a 13-year-old. And, we're still a ways away from them, buying a house or, finishing school and doing all that. But part of me is like, wait a minute, like, I love my children, but do I want them to live in my house until, for the rest of their lives, or should we, so I was telling my husband, if there's a way for us to maybe buy like another house and just have a house, like have two, just like as an investment property. Right. Because I'm anticipating that by the time they're adults, will they be able to afford living in Miami? I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking in those terms, right? Which isn't good, but, we also have the Live Local Act, which I thought, is worth mentioning, which is a tool that developers use to create more density and build, more properties, right? At little or reduced or no taxes. And, so you get a tax credit. And then you pass that savings down to the renter, which is workforce housing, basically. Yeah. And that's a good thing for someone who has a stable job, for people who are employed. We want to create those avenues where people can stay in a property, save some money, and then eventually build up enough money like for a down payment to buy a property. The goal is to always get people to buy a property, right? Because that's how you build equity. That's how you build wealth. That's how you break generational poverty. You need to have a property under your name.
So you chair the Miami-Dade delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said Dade 2 times. Miami-Dade delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Miami-Dade legislative delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have no idea what that actually is, right?
Mm-hmm.
In plain language, how does a local concern actually become a state priority? Walk us through that process, and then walk us through the role of the organization.
So ideas come from anyone that comes to us, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a constituent. Those ideas are all ideas that can become state law, right? They could become a local ordinance, like you've seen through Commissioner Julian's office, or it could go through the state level. But once something becomes a state law, it affects everyone in the state, right? So you need to get buy-in from colleagues that are in other parts of the state. So something that may be likable or popular in South Florida may or may not be popular or likable to someone in Central or North Florida or other parts of the state. So there's this process of, getting buy-in from your colleagues, when you have an idea, a bill, and then that needs to go through committees. And then so the committees, there's usually 3 committees of reference for each bill for the Senate and 3 committees of reference for the House. And then once those bills get through those committees, it gets to the floor. And then if it passes the floor, then you need to have a majority vote for each, through committee and through the floor. It gets to the governor's desk. And right now, today, actually, the governor received the budget and is going to sign the budget very soon. He has to sign it by July 1st.
Okay.
So we still have a little bit of time. He's probably going to issue some vetoes, and then we'll know what the state budget is. But that's basically, in a nutshell, how it works. So whether it's the budget or a bill, it all goes through a hearing process where the public is invited to go speak. People can go, people come from all over the state to Tallahassee to express their concerns or their support for legislation.
Wow. I think that's checks and balances at its best.
Mm-hmm.
As we look at America 250, we look at the founding values that have got us to where we are today.
Yes.
And I'm happy to see that those checks and balances are still at the very root of democracy.
Yes.
So you're also on the executive advisory board helping bring FIFA World Cup here in 2026. What's the economic case? Like, what does an event like that actually leave behind for everyday Miamians?
Well, it leaves a lot. You've seen a lot of community investment in the surrounding the FIFA events, a lot of community spirit, and we know that South Florida has a lot of different, nationalities where people are soccer fans in their native countries. So I think the sense of community, the sense of pride, is very important. I think the fact that FIFA created this fan zone in Bayfront Park was so super smart, because the tickets, to be honest, are quite expensive, and most people can't afford to go to the games. So they have this opportunity for people to congregate and root for their teams and have a good time. So I think that's important. Besides that, they've had some soccer clinics where children from the different neighborhoods down in Homestead, other parts of our community, have been able to participate and come out and get their FIFA swag, and they've given out free shirts, free gifts to kids. Regardless of income, you don't have to pay anything to go to that. So I think what they've done is create a sense of community surrounding an international event, a global event, really. Where everyone in every community feels somehow, some way connected to soccer and to their team. And that's a beautiful thing. You got to admire the way they put it together, and they've done an outstanding job. The chairman, Rodney Barreto, the executive, Alina Hudak and Janelle Prieto, they're just amazing people. They know what they're doing. So I think they've put together a great team. C-Ray Andino as well as part of that team. But these are all people that have decades of experience and knowledge in countywide events, countywide presence, and they know how to bring people out and what to give people, what people are looking for in these types of events.
I think that's beautiful, and I think the CEO of the Knight Foundation says it best. The power to create global change is local.
Yes.
And so by that local community, I feel like, it's a global event, but that local community creates change right here.
Yes.
So you also chair the environmental, and these students are just doing so much research. You also chair the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. Is that true?
I do.
Okay. So students, great job. Down here, flooding and sea level rise aren't abstract. They're property values, insurance, and jobs. How do you get people to see resilience as an economic investment, not just an environmental one?
So I think the state has done its part to give people incentives to harden their properties, because we know that their property is their largest investment for most people in their lifetimes, right? Their primary residence. So what do we do for people whose primary residence is in the state of Florida? If it's a single family home, they can apply for what's called My Safe Florida Home. And they can get up to $10,000 of assistance to get impact windows, impact garage doors, all kinds of products that normally cost a lot of money out of pocket. You can get it from the state, but I think it's like a reimbursement process. You would have to pay, and then the state would reimburse you up to $10,000. But you have to apply and get approved. Clearly, it's there's a process involved, but it's good. Like, if you don't have the money to do it, but obviously you have to kind of put the money up front, but you would get that money back. And it's something that a lot of people take advantage of. A lot of people. We expanded the My Safe Florida Home project to My Safe Florida Condo. So a condo association, which many Floridians live in, could apply for it and get up to $175,000 for the condo association to get that money to harden the structure. And that, as you said, how do we make people realize resilience is important? By putting our money where our mouth is and saying, yes, we know how important this is. We know that if you don't have a hardened property, you are at risk of losing or suffering severe damage to your property. Why risk it? Take the time, invest the money, and make sure that your property is ready for a hurricane. Thankfully, we've had some good years where, it hasn't been
Florida's
it
blessed.
hasn't been terrible. We've been blessed, amen. But we don't know when that's gonna take a turn and when things could come our way. So we just have to be ready for it. That's all I tell people. It's not if, it's a matter of when. So just be ready. Be prepared. If you need to get a generator, get a generator. If you need to, a lot of these items, people don't also realize that they're tax-free. In the state of Florida, you do not pay taxes on a lot of hurricane preparedness items. So it's important for people to make sure they're aware. There is no limit on the number of days because it used to be like a 1-week emergency preparedness week. It's not like that anymore. Now it's the whole year, 365 days a year. You can get your items tax-free.
That's beautiful.
Also, if you have small children, if you have an infant, you can get diapers tax-free. You could get all kinds of baby products tax-free. So sometimes I know sometimes people fall on hard times and they say, oh, well, things could be expensive, but the state tries to do its part to make sure that people can save money and, just not be, to kind of give them a little hand up.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Okay, so as we close, Senator, what is one piece of advice that you'd give a young person who says, I want to be in the room where decisions get made, but doesn't know the first door to knock on? And of course, that starts with speaking at a city council meeting, making your voice heard, building relationships like these. But if they want to do that in the future, what's the first step they need to take?
Well, I think the first step is, as you said, it's going to the council meetings, going to any meeting where you know that the elected officials will be present, whether it's a school board or whatnot. And then just working on their campaigns. That's another thing people don't realize. Every elected official is on the ballot at one point or another, and they need help. They need volunteers. They need people that are going to go work for them, whether paid or not paid. You might have to volunteer your time, but if you express to them, hey, I want to work for you, but I also want you to see me as a future asset for your office, as an intern, right? A lot of people start off as interns and then they work their way into paid positions. Not everybody has the luxury of being an intern because some people live, they're adults. Once you're an adult, then you don't live with your parents or you don't live with a relative, you have more bills to pay. So you need a paying position. But if you have the luxury of being an intern or a volunteer for someone, I think you should try to do that and really get immersed and see if you like politics, because one thing is, reading about it and seeing it on TV. And then another thing completely is being in the trenches in the council meetings until whatever time they finish, or, knocking on doors until whatever time you finish, knocking the last door of the day. Just being there for an elected official, just holding their clipboard when they're canvassing, checking off the names. Okay, what's the next house we're visiting? Who's the next person we're going to? Just that alone is a huge help to somebody who's out there trying to canvass, in a neighborhood. So there's multiple ways of getting involved. But I would say, the campaign side is a lot of fun. It's also a lot of work. But so is once someone's elected, the policy side, being in the office, in the city council meetings is also very, very exciting.
For sure. I think campaigns are the way to build relationships.
Absolutely.
When they're in office,
that's it.
They don't really have time. They have to hit the ground running. Okay, so rapid fire. These are some fun questions. This is my favorite part. So morning person or night person?
Both. It depends on the day.
Okay. I'm a night person. Text back in 2 minutes or 2 days?
Oh, less than a minute.
Less than a minute. Okay.
Yes, it says.
Beach or boat?
I think beach.
Beach. Okay. Like the sand?
Yeah.
The Keys or the mainland?
I like both.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah.
World Cup match in person or watch from home?
In person. I'll do my first one this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm going to the Colombia-Portugal game.
Yeah,
I've not been to one.
The Brazil one. No, that's upcoming. It's this weekend. No?
Okay. Colombia, Portugal is on Saturday.
Okay. Croqueta or pastelito?
Croqueta.
Okay. One word to describe Tallahassee in session.
It's chaotic.
Most underrated job in government.
Legislative aid.
Wow.
It's underrated, but you meet a lot of people and you make great contacts. So I would say if you have an opportunity to be a legislative aide,
Do it.
take it.
The app that you check first in the morning?
Instagram.
Social media. The best advice your mom or dad ever gave you?
Don't drink in public.
Okay.
Mhm.
If you weren't in politics or real estate, you'd be?
Politics. One or the other? Is it
No,
politics?
if you weren't in any of them.
Oh, I don't know. That's a great
A
question.
journalist?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Something in the arts, probably.
The arts? Oh, wow.
Something in the arts, yeah.
And then last one, the hidden talent that no one knows about. Is it singing? Is it...
My hidden talent. I like to sew.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Like with a needle and a thread. Yeah.
Takes a long time.
It does
But
take-
it's relaxing.
It's
though.
very relaxing.
Awesome.
Yes. I enjoy it tremendously. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Senator
Thank
Rodriguez,
you.
for joining me today. I
Thank
hope you
you.
have some time to interact in the district before you go back to Tallahassee.
I
know
sure
you
will.
guys came down and then went back for budget, right?
Yes, for
Yes.
budget. And then we had to go back for the property tax
What's your
session.
favorite and least favorite part of the budget that is supposed to be passed?
My least favorite part of the budget. I don't think I have a least favorite part.
What's your favorite thing that's in the budget?
My favorite thing are all the money we're putting in environmental projects and water quality.
Okay.
People don't realize how much water quality matters to our state, not just for our health and for we drink it, we consume it, but making sure we have clean waterways and clean beaches and just all that feeds into our tourism. And tourism is our largest economic engine in our state.
We visited MIA in Port Miami, and
hmm
you realize that's
Yeah.
where the money is.
That's where the money is. So if you don't have what your waterways taken care of, you'll be in a bad spot. So
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Senator
Thank
Rodriguez.
you.
Enjoy your summer, your time in your district,
You
and
too,
then back to
Clint.
Tallahassee.
Many blessings.
Many blessings to you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Strive305 High School Economic Fellowship Podcast. See you next time.